Anthony, a good weekend for the New Saints, a win of course against Caernarfon Nomads. Newtown in second place dropped points. That's a 14-point lead at the top of the table. We say it each week, but it's a healthy position that the New Saints finds itself in.
Yeah, I mean, going into that game, it was probably a really difficult, not necessarily preparation for that game, but you just never know how the team are going to respond to a long break like that. So we worked out that we had a little break over Christmas. We had a sort of what we called a mini pre-season leading into the Connors Quay game, and then it was 5 weeks from Pennybon at home to Connors Quay, with only 2 friendly games that we were able to schedule in with the training program that we had beforehand. So you just never know how the team is going to react, how the team are going to play. And I must say, just to get we had 2 points before the game, either performance and points, and we wanted to get both. We wanted a good performance and points, but we made sure we got the points first, and normally that's around the other way. But we thought it was really important to get the points on the board after the break, and we did that. And the performance in patches was good, but probably not as good as what we would have liked or have played before. However, credit to the players, I think, to make sure that we won that game was the most important, with still room to improve and to build on after a break where we looked probably a little bit rusty, I would say.
Well, you've just referenced the win against Connors Quay Nomads there and your thoughts. You obviously share them immediately after the final whistle. Then you have time to look at the game again and look at it from different angles and a different perspective. Did your thoughts change from the initial post-match interview to where you are today as you look back?
Yeah, no, the thoughts didn't change. Sometimes they can do. Sometimes you can watch the game differently at the time, or maybe you get caught up in the emotion with it and you look at it afterwards and maybe you played better than you thought. Sometimes I think is the case, or maybe not as good as you've thought. But we always film the games. We use our video analysis, who does a top job for us, Connor. He then will clip up the clips that we want to show the players in the debrief on Monday when we're back in. So we make sure that we go into areas of improvement in that, areas that were good, positives, and what we would change next time. So we make sure we watch it ourselves as staff. The staff do the work in their particular areas in the units, but then also we make sure we show the players the clips that we think are relevant of them, either to improve on or to get better. So I think that's really important too. So by the time the next game comes around, we've really debriefed that game. We've worked on those areas in training in the week, what we've shown in the video, and then put it into practice hopefully in this weekend coming into Caernarfon. So it's a never-ending sort of plan, do, review process that we use quite regularly.
And we are back on the road this Friday at Caernarfon, as you said, the first away game since December the 11th last year when we went to Jenner Park. Caernarfon are in form. The New Saints has got 5 wins on the bounce. Caernarfon is second as far as that statistic is concerned in the league. They've won back-to-back games. They are in 6th place. They've got a lot to play for. They won't need any motivation, and it will be a tough game.
Yeah, I mean, even just thinking back to the game that we had here, I think it was 5-3 in the end. It was 4-3 for a long period in that game. They've got goals in them. There's definitely attacking threats in their team. I know they might have a key player suspended for that game on the weekend, but I still think there's attacking threats in there. We've obviously got Josh Bailey, who's on loan, the young left back with us, so we regularly keep tabs on him and see a lot of their games. So we've watched a lot of them and know them quite well, just in terms of how they play and their style and the players that they've got. And they can definitely hurt you, and I think at their place there'll be hopefully a good crowd there. I myself personally haven't played there with a crowd, so I'm really looking forward to that. I know they get a lot of fans, so I think it'll be a really good atmosphere, tight pitch, good, highly competitive game, and I think they can hurt you. So we're definitely aware of that. We show a lot of respect to the opposition, especially Caernarfon, and I think Hugh does a good job there and is consistently doing well with the squad and players that he's got. So yeah, we're expecting a very, very tough game, and like you say, any game away from home is difficult, and this will be no further from the truth, I think.
Our last 2 visits in this particular fixture to the Oval, 4-0 victory and a 2-0 victory, but all of those goals were scored in the second half, so 0-0 at the break. In fact, 58 minutes and 66 minutes respectively. So that indicates that it will be a close game. They know how to play against TNS, and they will, as we've already said, be motivated and certainly up for the challenge.
Well, they've always been very organised when I've seen them, and especially when we played them, like you alluded to there, that 0-0 last year. We made, I think, 2 subs at half-time, a change of shape. Got some different types of attacking threats on the pitch, and ended up, I think Greg Draper scored, and he scored the first one, I think, which was the breakthrough goal with that. And that was a real key one for us, but like you say, it was later in that second half in a really tight game that was 0-0 at half-time with not a lot of chances, if I remember. So I think, I think there'll be more of the same of that. They'll be looking to keep that, I think, whoever scores the first goal is so key in any game, but especially in this league. If you look at the stats of who scores the first goal, a high percentage of the time goes on to win the game. So we'll be looking to get that first goal. They'll be looking to keep that, I think, 0-0 till half time, or to nick something up their end, and that's what we've got to come up against. So we'll be ready for that, and we've planned and prepared for it this week in training.
And you've already mentioned the crowds. The last 2 games at the Oval have been behind closed doors, but the 3 previous ones, the average attendance was in excess of 1,000 people. We talk about the 12th man. Well, that most certainly is the case at Caernarfon. How do you intend to counter the initial enthusiasm that the crowd will have as soon as the kick-off gets underway?
Yeah, I mean, look, we want to be doing what we do and playing how we play. I think setting our mark on the game, regardless of the crowd, is an important thing. So if we keep the ball and move it quickly and attack quickly, but maintaining possession as well, that can sometimes take the sting out of the game and sometimes the sting out of the crowd as well. However, what I would say is whenever these players I've seen have played with crowds, particularly in Europe, they've definitely raised their game. So I think the players really buzz off a crowd. I think us as coaches want to have more fans there. So I think it's a great raiser for us as well, which some people might not think, even though it's away from home, to go and be on the front foot and have people cheering and being loud at the games is just fantastic. So we're looking forward to that as much as probably they are with their fans back.
And although most of our games in the JD Cymru Premier are played on a synthetic surface, this one will be on grass. It's a traditional stadium. Have you made any extra or special or additional preparations as far as training has gone this week?
Yeah, we always train on grass leading up to a grass game, so 1 or 2 times as a minimum we'll train on grass, and we've done that this week. I think it's good just to get the players familiar with it. But I think in terms of that, just making sure our pitches are a little bit smaller in how we're playing, because their pitch is quite tight and small compared to our pitch here. So sometimes we adapt the sizes of our pitches leading into those games too, which we've done this week also.
And as you think about the game, we are a few days away from it, of course, as we chat now. You still have training sessions to come. Do you have the starting 11 in mind? Or rather, as we often ask, places still up for grabs?
Well, yeah, it's difficult after a good win, a good 3-1 win, but then the performance wasn't maybe as good as what we thought. There could be some tactical changes playing away from home on a smaller pitch with a different style that we might need, maybe to break down an opposition that's maybe different to what Connor's key is as well. So there's some elements there. We've got a couple of players that might be back from injury too, which could also add to the mix. So yeah, there's a rough idea of that starting 11 there, but with still a couple of training sessions to go, that we're pretty open-minded at this stage.
And finally, as always, the general availability of players.
Yeah, well, it's good to have Blaine Hudson back for the game on the weekend. He'll be available for the game also as well. We've had a couple of knocks this week in training, but nothing major. I think Keston Davies will be the only one who's still out, obviously, with his operation that he's had on his knee. So apart from that, everyone fit, ready and raring to go. So it'll be a tough team to pick.